Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hello, beautiful souls. This week I have part 1 of a 3-part free intuitive development psychic gift mini course that I ran in my Facebook group Soul Space. So if you like this episode and you want to hear parts 2 and 3, which go deeper into, the 4 clairs and being an empath and the other ways that our intuitive and psychic gifts communicate with us and how to further cultivate that and, all the stuff, then come join me in Soul Space. I would love to have you there and to get to know you a little bit better and interact with you more personally. It would just make me so happy. And also, I just wanted to let you know that I'm creating a course, a little accessible program around 5D magic and manifestation, and I'm hoping to have all the details solidified for next week. If you're interested and you want to find out the details, then follow me either in Soul Space or on Instagram. That's where I'll be releasing the information, but stay tuned. It should hopefully be out this week or next. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, friends. Welcome to the Intuitive Development Mini Course for free because I love you. Today's session is called Get Into Your Power. Okay, so when I say get into your power, I mean, I got a little bit of sass behind this, okay? So please don't take offense as I get kind of sassy about it. But get into your power means stop fucking whining and acting like you believe that you are some kind of, muggle who doesn't have the ability to develop your intuition, and then it's this thing outside you and you're not special enough and only special people can do this and other people know about your own life better than you do. Stop it. Stop it. Disengage from all that bullshit. Get into your power. Believe in yourself. Choose yourself and go from there. It's the foundation from which all of your intuitive development is built. I'm going to give you a news flash, and it's probably going to sound like annoying, probably, maybe not, but you are intuitive. It is your inherent birthright. You were born with these abilities. I know this because I've received and met so many newborns. And how do you think they communicate their needs? They don't just start out crying. I mean, that's a studied, known newborn behavior fact. I don't really believe in objective facts, but whatever. It is an agreed upon observation of newborns that they don't just immediately cry to communicate their needs and their desires. They actually have all of these subtle little cues. They're all nonverbal, obviously. Often they are not even volume. They communicate with you basically telepathically and psychically. They communicate with you on an energetic level because, first of all, that's like all they can do. They're limited in their communication abilities, but also that's the purest form of communication, and we all have access to that. And what happens is we just get really talked out of it. As we get older, part of it is that once we take on language and things like that, we sort of disconnect from the focus on our nonverbal communication abilities. But it's more than just body language. It's more than just these little visual cues. They will look at you and project what their needs are. Animals are the same way. I think plants are the same way. I think plant people can just sense what a plant needs. Probably crystals are the same way too. So basically, you have intuitive abilities. You just do. You are intuitive. And the idea that you're not is absolute bullshit, and you are the only person that can decide to call bullshit on it. I can give you all the permission in the world, which I'm doing right now, to call bullshit on it. But until you make that decision to call bullshit on it and step into your power and claim your intuitive abilities for yourself, my permission and anyone else's permission is just going to be like, nice feeling thoughts that you hear from me and other people. So it's all up to you. And you have to step into your power in order to really access your intuitive skills, your innate, inborn intuitive skills. Because if you don't, then it's like you're always looking for this thing that's outside of you. Kind of like, have you ever met people that they have a health condition and they seek health, but they don't believe that they are innately, inherently healthy? That belief keeps reinforcing the state of, what's the opposite of homeostasis? A state of, biological imbalance within their bodies, because that's what they believe in. But health is their default setting. But if they don't believe in that, if they think it's something outside of themselves, that they have to imbibe, certain supplements or medications or whatever in order to achieve health, then it's always something outside of them. So they'll forever be seeking it. It's the same with your intuitive skills. So you basically just have to get over the idea that you're not intuitive and just step into it. And don't wait for somebody to tell you that you're intuitive and be like, oh, wow, your dreams are so amazing. You must be really psychic. Or, oh, wow, how did you know that? You must be really psychic. Just fuck all that. Just fuck it. Other people are so busy with their lives, they don't have time to validate the things within you that you want to have validated. Just validate it for yourself. You have to do that. It's the foundation for you to also really stop looking outside of yourself for guidance, for validation of your intuitive skills. So another example is when somebody's in a shitty relationship or some kind of something or other, they're engaged in a pattern and it's not going well for them, and they don't, they keep asking all their friends for advice, but they don't ever apply the advice, and they just keep talking about it over and over and over, and you're the friend and you're you get to a point where you're just I'm not talking about it with you anymore because this is going nowhere. It can be the same thing when you're not in your power and you do not believe in your own intuition, and you are looking to other psychics or other intuitives or other readers always as though they somehow have the magical insight into your life and your situation that you don't. The truth is that we all are souls. We all have incredibly vast consciousness. We just choose how much of our consciousness we allow ourselves to experience. But we all have the ability to pan out and look at our lives in an objective way. The tricky part is that, we have an emotional horse in the game, and so often we don't, we'll kind of twist facts or twist, the information to sort of fit what we want based on our ego. But we all have a soul's eye view on our own lives. We all have intuitive guidance coming through all the time. All the time. I'm sure you can think of at least one instance in your life where you just had this passing intuitive thought, this clear little subtle voice being like, oh, maybe I should reach out to that person, or oh, maybe I should break up with this person now, or oh, maybe I should, look into that job. And we just dismiss it. And then later on down the line, we realize oh, that voice was right. And I missed the opportunity. Our intuition is there. You're all intuitive. We're all intuitive. All of us. We have a greater perspective than what we've been trained to believe we have. But it speaks in a subtle way. It doesn't usually scream at us. And by the time it's screaming, much like a newborn. It's because we have ignored it over and over and over, and it needs to, blow up our lives to get our attention, essentially. But you have intuitive gifts, and you just have to accept that. And you just have to never mind any story that you've ever received that talks you out of your power, or has communicated to you that you're some kind of shit person for some reason, that you're unworthy, that you're not special, blah, 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 blah. That's the hallmark of the human experience. We've all received it from countless directions, on so many levels, from very subtle and insidious to very overt and undeniable. But you are the only one who can opt out of that shit. And you just have to. You have to do it for yourself. Otherwise, you're always going to stay in a state of disempowerment and disconnection from your innate inherent knowing. And there's this real trend of referring to our spirit guides for guidance on things. And I mean, I do it too. My spirit guide is really hands off. I think his name is something like, it's not a typical English name. It's something like Jarl or Jal or something like that. Pretty sure he's Arcturian. That's just the feeling that I get. And he's like super removed. He's like, no, you got this. I'm not giving you a lot of guidance, because I know you can do it. So I can feel when I'm getting guidance from him. And usually when I get guidance from him, I actually have to go to him to get it and ask for it. And we definitely have spirit guides, but most of us are relying on ourselves, and that's what our spirit guides desire for us anyway. Our souls know what the fuck is up. Like, you know what's up. You know what's up. You know what's up with you, and you know what's up with other people. And I know you do. You are empathic. You are intuitive. You can, I bet that all of you have had an experience where, somebody crosses your mind, and you just kind of wonder how they're feeling, what they're doing. And you just have this feeling that they need to talk, or something's up. Or maybe you're even talking to them and they're seeming totally normal, and you're just like, something else is going on, whether you vocalize it or not. We all are built inherently. We're born with the ability to communicate with subtle energy. And that's what intuition is. Whether it's energy that is manifested physically, so we sense it through our 5 senses, or it's energy that has not yet manifested physically, and therefore it's more subtle, it's still detectable, and we are still in communication with it. Also, getting into your power means being very discerning about what kind of stuff you engage in terms of the media you consume, the entertainment media, the news media, social media, blah, blah, blah. And listen, I get a weekly screen report on my phone. I have high screen interaction and engagement. This isn't a lecture about putting your phones down or whatever like that. It's just about developing some media literacy so that you can sense the way the media that you're consuming makes you feel. If it makes you feel better about yourself, better about life, or if it makes you feel worse, mainly about yourself. It's important when getting into your power to curate that, because what you're wanting to support is your belief in yourself as a person that knows what's up, because you do know what's up. You do know what's up. And so much of intuitive development is just trusting that. It's learning to trust that, whether you get validation or not. It's learning to decide that the barometer of truth that you experience within yourself gets the priority over everything else. So no matter what, entertainment media you're consuming, meaning books, magazines, music, movies, TV shows, things like YouTube videos, blah, blah, blah. No matter what news media, alternative or mainstream, no matter what social media you're consuming, you're wanting it to support your belief in yourself, but you're also wanting to make sure that you never, ever outsource your your truth to any of those things, because you have a truth, a version of the truth that is 100% irrefutable to you. Nobody can talk you out of that. Screw that. But you also have, nobody's obligated to take on your truth. So just never mind everybody else. Center yourself in your truth and defer to it. Don't look at other people's social media, for example, or other people's YouTube videos or something like that, and hear their version of the truth, the way that they filter it and express it, and believe to yourself that it's somehow truer than yours. It's not. You have to root yourself in your truth. When I used to be in the process of learning about my intuitive gifts, I would buy all these books about it. And, they always start out with a chapter on grounding. And I'd be like, oh, grounding. Oh, my God. And I would just be like, skip to the good stuff. And this isn't quite the same as grounding, but in a lot of ways it is. Because I believe the purpose of grounding exercises is because if you're opening yourself up to more subtle vibrations, you're opening yourself up to communication with non-physical intelligence and consciousness, you have to be rooted in yourself. Otherwise, you can be you can float away. But the same is true of physical consciousness and communicating with physical consciousness. And that's what I'm talking about, is really building a strong foundation where you root yourself in your own GD truth as being true. And it doesn't matter if anybody else agrees. That's not their responsibility. Who cares? It's true for you, and that's where you stay. And you always defer to your own authority for yourself and your understanding of your own life. So, for example, a great example of giving your power away is using tarot cards to develop your intuition, or oracle cards, and doing oracle readings. And I speak to this because I used to do this all the time. Do oracle readings or tarot readings, and you get cards that make you uncomfortable or something, or get cards that make you happy, and you're like, oh my God, well, it has to be that way because the card said, or oh, I have to be afraid because the card said. You just tune into yourself and tune into the way that your truest self interprets that information, and you root in that as the truth. Another great example is, because I posted about it and other people responded the other day, seeing repeating sequences of numbers or angel numbers or anything like that, and feeling I do get messages from people asking me what it means that they're seeing all these numbers. What does it mean? What does it mean? I believe you know what it means. I believe you don't need to go looking up what it means. And even if you do, it's based on numerology, and it's like dream dictionaries. It might resonate, and if it does, perfect, because it resonates. If it doesn't resonate, then that's not what it means for you. But sometimes all it means is hey, we're in a simulation. Wink, wink. That's it. I'm the simulation is really aligning. And I don't know, to me, often it means you're on the path, and the path just means you are in the streamline of the flow. But even deferring your power, your idea of your spirit guides trying to communicate something to you that you're not understanding, is you being out of your power. And you being out of your power means that you're going to be out of your power, and that's all you're going to experience, and that's all you're going to manifest. So you just have to decide to get into your power when developing your intuition. You have to move into the understanding that you know what's up. You are intuitive. You receive intuitive hits all the time. And probably you are just not acknowledging them because you have been strongly convinced by society and a whole number of life experiences to pay no mind to that stuff, to downplay it as either make-believe, or to downplay it even as communication with dark entities or the devil, if that's, if somebody in your life has had those beliefs. Or just to simply not even notice it. We've been very, 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 very brainwashed to put our attention on the 3D experience only, meaning to only give validity to the things that we experience as having been physically manifested, which keeps us in a loop of remanifesting what's already is, because we can't believe in something in its pre-manifested subtler forms yet. So we're entrained to believe only to give credence to that which is physically manifested already, which technically is old news because it's just a representation of our vibrational point of awareness, from like 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago or whatever. And we're also very brainwashed to believe in ourselves as flawed, shitty people who should be ashamed of ourselves, that are polluting the world because we're terrible, selfish, garbage humans, and that we're violent with each other because we're terrible, selfish, garbage humans, and to feel very hopeless, to feel full of shame and worthlessness, and to really stay focused on that. We're very brainwashed to give our power away constantly in the search for experiences of validation like physical beauty, fitness for the sake of beauty, intelligence and credentials, achievement, money, material, like amassing a lot of material symbols of success or whatever, where we really get locked into these loops where we're constantly giving away our power and seeing that there's something outside of us that we're searching, but everything is within, including your intuition. And in fact, your intuition is just an expression of everything that is contained within. You know what's up. Have you ever experienced a deja vu where I think deja vus are super subjective. Well, they are super subjective, but they're different. All deja vus are different. But I remember I used to have deja vus where, one time I met this guy, and I obsessively was like, where do I know him from? Where do I know him from? And I would cycle over it over and over. It was crazy. It's like the way, sometimes people have a specific way they move their mouths. It's so unique. Anyway, so he had that kind of face and the way he moved his mouth. And I was like, I know him. And it took me a while to conclude that I know him from the future. I remember him from the future because we became good friends. And that's how it ended up being. Because everything is all, how do I describe it? I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Donnie Darko. It's a weird movie. So in Donnie Darko, it talks about time and time loops and all that crap. And there's this one part where he has this really it's almost like he's on drugs, but he's not on drugs, but he can suddenly see people's energy bodies. And it's this energy center coming out of their solar plexus. And it's like a worm, kind of an energy worm that's traveling out ahead of them. And that's kind of how I see time too, where I understand that everything that has manifested physically is vibrating at a slower rate. In order to manifest physically, the vibration has to slow down. That's kind of the hallmark of physicality, is everything vibrates at a really slow rate, and that creates a sense of density and a sense of material mass. And so we are actually living out ahead of ourselves. Energetically, everything is happening several beats before the physical manifestation. And our physical senses are interpreting the physical energy it seems like it's in real time, but it's in lag time, because the physical manifested density is the last thing to express itself. So when I could recognize this guy from the future, it's because energetically, our consciousness is already several steps ahead of us, already experiencing all that stuff. And our physical bodies are being dragged behind us, the slowest and last parts to keep up with what we're experiencing. So really, our intuition is the ability to be in the place where our energetic consciousness is, which is ahead of the physical manifestation. So you have intuition. You don't ever not have it. So much of the work, so much of the intuitive development work is just accepting that you have it and learning how to trust it and learning how to not belittle it away and invalidate it for yourself because you think it should be stronger. One thing that I experienced a lot in my 10 to 12 years of really wishing that I was psychic and totally believing I wasn't psychic, even though I was totally having psychic experiences, was I really thought that in order to be psychic, you had to, be seeing shadow figures or seeing ghosts, or like I just really thought it had to look a certain way. It had to express itself in a certain way. And as I read all of those books, I don't know if they just didn't mention anything about this or I just couldn't receive it, but I feel like I never received the message that actually usually our intuition and our psychic gifts are subtle and they're quiet, and it's up to you to create the space and the time to hear them. And so much of that process is validating this. So if you want your consciousness to, if you want to develop your intuition, and developing your intuition again is, I believe that it is just moving your consciousness forward into the place where we are aware of the, as Abraham Hicks calls it, the leading edge, where everything is just energetic. It has not slowed down into physical density yet. If you want to cultivate your intuition to be there, then you have to put in the time and you have to create the space. You can't just, kind of like a spoiled brat, demand that your intuition perform for you so that you can feel validated and special. This is where the sass comes in. You have to put in the time. It's really like, it really is like deciding to learn a different language. It's like deciding to pick up an instrument, to develop any new skill. I'd say that, like, okay, a great example. For me, even, I'm an artist. I always have been. I haven't really drawn very much for the last probably 7 or 8 years, just because I picked a different career path. I haven't made the time for it. So if I were to pick up a pen and paper or a pencil and paper or whatever and to draw right now, it would look okay because I have, like, say if I decided I wanted to draw a portrait, that's what I used to be really good at, portraits and human bodies and things like that. If I decided to sit down and do that with my afternoon today, it would probably turn out pretty well, but it wouldn't be what it could be if I was continuously doing it every day. Because I already have the muscle memory, so to speak, built in. I have the neural pathways created from all of the hours that I spent in my childhood and my early adulthood drawing. So I could make it look halfway decent. It would be all right. It wouldn't be like a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. Whenever we're learning to do something like this, even if we used to do it, we have to accept that we're not just going to get back on the horse and be able to do beautiful canters and jumps. And I'm not a horseback rider. I don't know why I'm using this analogy, but we can't expect it to be like an amazing display of proficiency. We have to understand that we're going to turn on the pipes and we have to run the pipes, run all that rusty water out before the water starts to run clear. That's just how it fucking works with anything that we ever do in our lives. It's just how it works. It's the same with our intuition. If you're picking up your intuition for the first time and when you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I just started my spiritual awakening like in the last 6 months. I never gave my intuition any thought before this. I don't have any neural pathways established, I don't have any muscle memory established for this, then it's going to take longer, and you have to give yourself grace and celebrate all the little tiny validations on the way there. You cannot expect it to just turn on for you. Furthermore, I did a live a while ago about the ways that our magic selves, our psychic selves have really been terrorized into hiding. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean that absolutely, literally, I mean, at least a 500-year campaign of destroying our understanding of ourselves as divine expressions of God. I'm so serious. All you have to do is look. I mean, there are current examples right now. There are past examples. There are generations and generations of where your survival was threatened by having gifts, where it was, you were convinced that you were like an abomination if you had them. So obvious examples are the witch burnings, the Roman Catholic Inquisition, but also you just have to look at the history of residential schools in Canada and the United States and the campaign to destroy the magic of First Nations Inuit Métis people. Another example is the atrocity of the communist takeover in China and the separation of people from their right to even practice like non-religious, like compassionate sort of spiritual practices like Falun Gong. I'm trying to think on the spot of other examples. There are so many, there are so countless many. I mean, there are so many race-based ones there, but it's not limited to race-based. It's across basically to the powers that be at any given time, whoever was in power, humans understanding their divine creative magic, their divine creative powers was a threat to the maintenance of power of anybody who, controlled the people. And so there has been this ongoing campaign to absolutely eradicate that knowing that we have of ourselves. And so not only do we have to give ourselves grace and patience and understand that we can't just, pick up a guitar when we've never ever played a musical instrument, we have no musical literacy, and expect ourselves to be proficient in a week, but we also have to understand that our magic selves have been terrorized into hiding. Terrorized. I am not kidding. People have not just died for it, but they have been tortured for it. Tortured. And people have witnessed other people be tortured for it. And people have been compelled to accuse each other and to turn each other over to authorities for it. Like, I'm serious. We have collective massive PTSD around this. So you also have to give yourself so much grace, and understand that, like, you might have to coax this out of hiding. You might have to really, really communicate to your psychic, intuitive, magic self that this is safe now. It's okay to come out. It's okay now. It's safe. And if you've ever experienced any kind of trauma at all, especially trauma in childhood, you'll know that it takes a lot. You have to be patient when convincing somebody that it's safe. If you take the example of a child who's been abused, like, you can't just be like, well, you're safe now, and have them be like, okay, I'm safe now. Like, no, they've received patterning, neurological patterning to protect themselves. They're not just going to trust because you said it's okay. So creating the time and space for yourself to develop your intuition is practical. Like I said, if you're picking up a new skill, you have to give yourself time to learn the new skill. And the only way that you can is by repeatedly showing up and practicing it. But you also have to put it in the terms of like you're coaxing yourself out, you're coaxing your intuition out, but you're also courting your intuition out. Like you're not squeezing it into whatever leftover time you have at the end of the day or the week or the month. Like, if you want to develop your intuition, you need to put it on the front burner. Otherwise, it's not going to develop. And it just is what it is. It's like, same like I said, if you're learning to play the guitar and you never practice, you're not going to learn how to play the guitar. You have to devote the time, but also when you're acknowledging the trauma that's like pushed us all into hiding, this aspect of ourselves into hiding, you also it behooves you to create a beautiful space, because all those things really signal to your nervous system that it's okay. And your soul has a nervous system too, which is something so cool that I found in the Akashic records. Meaning, if you have past life experiences or other life experiences of persecution for your psychic gifts, for example, when you die and your soul returns to non-physical, a lot of that gets healed and resolved and smoothed out. But it can't be completely healed, resolved, and smoothed out, because there's the part of you that experienced it in the physical, which is why we keep repeating the same shit over and over in our lives, because our soul is trying to smooth it out and really heal it. But the problem is we forget when we're in our human bodies. So when you come back into a human body, if you imagine your energy as like, a beautiful egg, like say before you ever have a physical life, let's just say you are this like orb, this egg-shaped orb of energy, and the vibration of that energy field is uniform all the way through. Then you have a life in which you are persecuted and tortured and executed for having psychic gifts, let's say. And that's very traumatizing, and you die and you go back into non-physical, you reemerge into like just yourself as a soul, and a lot of that gets smoothed out. It creates like, a pattern of distortion, kind of like TV static when you flip it to a channel that's not a channel. It creates a pattern of distortion in that egg-like energy field. And when you're in spirit, a lot of that gets smoothed out again, but it can't fully get smoothed out again because it also is in the body. It's in the body. So when you reincarnate into another life and you enter into a physical body, the way that it works is that we seldom haphazardly just have lives that trigger other lives. What happens is we have lives that kind of parallel a previous life so that we can work through this stuff. Like we set it up for ourselves so that we can hopefully make progress and return to our awareness of our true selves and kind of healing that energy static, that disruption in the vibration of our energy field. So when we re-enter a specific lifetime that kind of parallels that previous one, the memory field that is our energy, our egg-like orb, it still carries like a residual memory of that static. And once that connects with a physical body, it flares up again. And we keep manifesting based on that. We keep manifesting circumstances that reflect that distortion back to us, because it's our soul's way of being like, see it, heal it, heal it, heal it. Do you see it? Heal it. Do you see it? Heal it. But we forget, and we just think of ourselves as being victims, and everything's just happenstance. And so we have a hard time making really good use of those opportunities to heal. But that's what's really happening. So if you have a really deep-rooted fear within yourself of expressing and developing your intuition, like you have a wall and you practice and you're afraid of what's going to happen, you're afraid of what people are going to think, you're really afraid of, connecting with demons or dark entities or something like that, you have a fear, and then you get to that point and you retreat back and you shut it all down. It could just be that you have an extra layer of like fear in your soul, body, nervous system interface. That means that you have to give yourself extra grace, and that would be a good time to look for mentorship or support from somebody. But if that feels like it's out of your budget or just not something that's accessible to you, then what you can really do is create a super physically comfortable, safe space, whatever that means, like a comfortable chair. Using the same space is really valuable, the same spot to practice your intuition. A comfortable chair, a comfortable cushion, like a room where you're by yourself, where you can lock the door, like whatever it takes for you to feel safe, but also to feel like it's really beautiful. If you beautify it, you send a signal to your psyche that this is okay and this is beautiful and this is important, and you just frame it to yourself as an opportunity for healing and an opportunity to reconnect with the absolute unspeakable magnificence that you are. I mean, because that's really what all of this is all about, in my opinion, is that our intuition is innate to us. It's totally inherent, and it is just one aspect of our boundless mystery, magic, and magnificence. And that's really all we're seeking anyway. Like anything that we ever think we want in our lives, like Abraham Hicks says, and I agree, and that was a big paradigm shifter for me, is like anything you think you want it because you believe that you'll feel better in having it. But to take that a step further, why would you feel better? Because so basically, like you think these things outside of you, including your intuition, will give you more security, because it gives you an ability to have a better oversight of your life and to make better decisions and to experience fewer consequences, and therefore to feel less unsafe. And it also might even like give you the upper hand so that you can make more money and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like it can unravel. We can take it in any direction. But really, all of those things are already within you. You already are safe. You already are secure, because you are infinitely magnificent, infinitely powerful, no matter what the fuck happens in your life. And I mean that so truly. And again, like, this isn't me just being blasé about the intense trauma that people experience, but like underneath all that, beyond the boundaries of the stories we create around trauma and the shitty things that happen to us, we continue to exist, and we are absolutely untouchably magnificent. And it's only our belief and our disempowerment that makes us feel otherwise. It makes us seek these things outside of ourselves, as if anything outside of ourselves can make us feel better. But everything is truly within, and everything is a literal expression. Everything we manifest is an expression of what we actually inherently are. What we inherently are, and what we are is a fragment of God. And by fragment, I don't mean like a discarded crumb of God. I mean like if you imagine snow, we're all beautiful snowflakes, but we are all beautiful snowflakes. So if God were the snow, we are the snowflakes. Like, the snow doesn't exist without the snowflakes. The snowflakes are inseparable from the snow. So you are a beautiful, magnificent fragment of God. Everything is contained within you. You are what you need. You are what you desire. And really, all that any of this is about is experiencing ourselves within the boundaries of different circumstances, so that we can continue to interact with our magnificence. And sometimes it means forgetting our magnificence so that we can then have the thrill of remembering our magnificence. But the bottom line is that your intuition is not outside of you. It is yours. It is inherent. You need to step into your power. You need to claim your intuition. Claim it for you. Fuck anybody else's opinion. Don't wait for validation. Just claim it for yourself. And then from there, I don't want to say lower your expectations, but I think demystify your expectations, so that you are willing to show up for yourself. You are willing to cultivate it, to coax it out, to court it, to court that part of yourself, to not demand. Basically, it feels to me, it's like, I mean, this will make more sense for girls, I think, but maybe not. But I feel like my intuitive self, if I'm demanding that it like present itself in a certain way, it's kind of like I'm an asshole that's like demanding myself to put out without like, you know, showing up to let myself know that I'm appreciated and that I'm seen and I'm valued and that I'm worth the time and I'm worth the space and the prioritizing and all that. Does that make sense? I hope that didn't I hope that worked for everybody. It's like, don't demand your intuitive self to put out and yield results right away just because you want to feel special. Accept yourself as special inherently already and intuitive inherently already, and then take the time to really court yourself and put the time in and develop a relationship with that part of yourself. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. And it also doesn't have to be a lot of work too. I recently did a reading for somebody who, she was talking about manifesting love, but the guidance that came up was that she had to court herself. Her own desire had really like dwindled to like bare embers. And I was like, oof, that has to be built back up. And like, you have to reconnect with yourself and court yourself and just treat yourself like you're like a goddess. And she was like, well, that sounds like a lot of work. And I was like, well, does not just say everything. Like, if you feel like it's a lot of work to court yourself, how do you think other people are going to feel about it? And also, why would it be work? It's like the most fun thing ever. So this shouldn't feel like work. This should feel like a fun opportunity to cultivate this relationship with this part of yourself and know that it's already there, and know that like you're kind of playing a game with like, you know, it's like, frame it like you're being coy and flirtatious with yourself. Like, make it light and fun and celebrate the ways that it starts to show itself. Don't invalidate them. Don't be like, oh, I think it means this, but that's too obvious. That's too easy. It can't be that simple. Yes, it can. It totally is. It totally is that simple. It's that subtle and it's that simple. I promise you. I promise you it is. We also have this, we've developed an attitude or a reaction. It's more of a reaction of wanting instant gratification. And we've really been hardwired that way through a lot of things. Again, I believe it's deliberate to, you know, make us like sort of slaves to that instant dopamine hit. But certainly social media is a great example, and like the internet and, you know, instant text messages and just that the technological aspect of getting something instantly, and we get this little dopamine hit, and we're really being continuously wired to expect the result right away. And just to be aware of that and to know that that doesn't serve us ever. It doesn't serve us ever, because we do live in a physical realm and we've chosen to be here. And part of it is for the unfolding of energy manifesting physically through space, across time, across space through time. I guess they're interchangeable. And so the process, like, it's so friggin' annoying when people say, like, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But I mean, it's true. It's about the destination too, but the journey is also the thing. The process of developing your intuition, the process of learning to play guitar. Another great example is fitness. And it's so funny that I use this because I'm terrible. I never prioritize fitness. I always start and then I just quit. But, you know, like, you can't expect results right away. You might feel the burn the first few days of, you know, any fitness regime. But if you're like me and you give up after 2 weeks, you're never going to see the changes in your body. And I never do, because I give up. And I'm fine with that. It's just me. But it's the same with your intuition. If you're not going to like invest in the process and find a way to enjoy the process and make it fun for yourself and just feel like it's important to you, then you're not going to get anywhere with it. And that's okay. You don't have to. You're not under any obligation to develop your intuition. But it just really is about the process. The process has to be a joy. The feeling of the strengthening of your intuition, the more and more and more you do it. And there's also no arrival point where your intuition is fully developed. I can speak to that because I've been on this journey for a long time. And even over this past year, the quality, in my opinion, the quality of the readings that I would give in January they were still really good, but the quality of the readings that I give now, even between, so if you listen to my most recent 2 podcast episodes, they were examples of readings, or they were like, you can listen in on 2 readings that I gave when I was doing that like crazy August promotion. And even since then, because I did so many readings for that August promotion. That really, because I put so much time into using my intuition and using my gifts, that really exploded and accelerated what I was receiving, so that the readings that I give now are like even 2 or 3 notches above that. The clarity that comes is, it continues to increase because I'm doing it all the time. Not even all the time. Like, honestly, I only work 2 days a week right now because I have a kid, but it's just that it's the regular showing up and using that and opening those channels. It's like, that really is what it is. Like, you're digging a channel. At the beginning, either a channel exists, but it's kind of small. You need to widen it, or a channel barely even exists at all. And so you need to dig a whole new channel for that information to come through and land with you consciously, so that you're receiving it and interacting with it on a conscious level. So you have to understand that it's going to be slow going at first as you dig or reinforce that channel. And then after a while, when the channel is well established and that information comes through on its own, it's going to widen. It's like water flowing through a river. It's going to erode the banks. The river is going to expand. More like a greater volume of water is going to pass through at any given time. As that channel is used regularly, it's going to expand by default. It's going to widen and widen and widen, and you're going to be able to receive and integrate on a conscious level more and more and more intuitive psychic information, meaning information that hasn't manifested physically yet. It's just much simpler than we make it out to be. Much simpler than we make it out to be. So, okay, the last thing I wanted to say is I would caution against using things like, and this was brought up to me by somebody that I was talking to a couple weeks ago, and I could really relate because I was doing the same thing too. She was saying she believes in her intuition. I believe in her intuition. I can feel it. But she almost always gets it wrong. And I asked her, like, what do you mean you get it wrong? And she said she was using these videos on the internet that were on YouTube that were created to help people with psychic development. And they were like videos of, like, you know, what is in the box, kind of like, you know, there's an item in the box and you're supposed to use your psychic skills to figure out what's in the box. And I'm not saying never do those. I just don't put too much weight in them, and don't let that be a source of discouragement if you're not getting it right. I almost never get those things right because the way that the exercise is set up switches me out of my psychic receptive energy channels and into guessing mode. I can feel the difference. It's like I'm telling myself I'm psychicking it, but I'm guessing it. I'm guessing. I'm like, it just puts me into logic brain somehow. And it might work really well as a technique for some people. For me, it doesn't. And for her, it didn't. And I would just caution against things where you can get it right or wrong. And those aren't conducive to, or like if you practice with a card and you're trying to, like, you know, say if you have a deck of cards and you're trying to intuit which card you're going to turn over next, I just feel like those things put you into guess mode, and they have the potential to be way more discouraging than encouraging. And they also, like, that's not really how your intuition functions anyway. Your intuition is the interpretation of non-physical energy preceding physical energy. It's to sort of help you direct your path. It's way more complicated than that. I'm like, you can't really boil it down to just that. But anyways, I just feel like it's different than those kind of exercises, which are very guess based. But if those work for you, use them. Absolutely use them. Bottom line is, you know what's up. You are intuitive. Just do it and put the time in. Anyways, thank you, everybody. I hope that you found this helpful and enjoyable. I think it's a good foundation. So hopefully you integrate it and it sets you up to keep moving forward with me on this path. It makes you think of anything and you want to comment, I would love for you to interact with me, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that come up. Mwah! Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. I appreciate you more than my words could ever say. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you on the next episode.